Cam Newton.
Cameron Jerrell. Cam Newton is an American football quarterback for the Carolina Panthers of the National Football League. He played college football for the Auburn Tigers in Alabama and was drafted as the first overall pick by the Panthers in the 2011 NFL Draft. He is only the third player to be awarded the Heisman Trophy, win a national championship, and become the first overall pick in the NFL Draft all in the same one-year span, joining Hart and Angelo Bertelli. In his rookie year, Newton broke numerous rookie and all-time NFL records for passing and running the ball. He became the first rookie quarterback to throw for 400 yards in his first game, shattering Peyton Manning's record by 120 yards. He also broke Otto Graham's 61-year-old record for passing yards by any quarterback in an NFL debut. Newton would go on to become the first rookie quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards in a season, as well as the first rookie QB to rush for 700 yards. He also ran for 14 touchdowns, more in a single season than any quarterback in NFL history, breaking Steve Grogan's 35-year-old record.
High school career.
Newton attended Westlake High School in Atlanta, Georgia, where he played for the Westlake Lions high school football team. As a 16-year-old junior, he passed for 2,500 yards and 23 touchdowns and ran for 638 yards and 9 TDs, garnering the attention of major college programs. His senior year he was rated a 5-star prospect by Rivals.com, the number 2 dual-threat QB in the nation, and the 28th player overall. He received scholarship offers from Florida, Georgia, Maryland, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Oklahoma and Virginia Tech. He committed to the University of Florida at the beginning of his senior year, becoming part of the top-rated recruiting class in the country for 2007.
College career. University of Florida.
Newton initially attended the University of Florida, where he was a member of the Florida Gators football team in 2007 and 2008. As a freshman in 2007, Newton beat out fellow freshman quarterback John Brantley as the backup for eventual Heisman Trophy winner Tim Tebow. He played in 5 games, passing for 40 yards on 5 of 10 and rushing 16 times for 103 yards and 3 touchdowns. In 2008, during his sophomore season, Newton played in the season opener against Hawaii but suffered an ankle injury and took a medical redshirt season. On November 21, 2008, Newton was arrested for the theft of a laptop computer from another University of Florida student. He was subsequently suspended from the team after the laptop was found to be in his possession. Campus police tracked the stolen laptop to the athlete. Newton tossed the computer out his dorm window in a humorously ill-advised attempt to hide it from cops. All charges against Newton were dropped after he completed a court-approved pre-trial diversion program. I believe that a person should not be thought of as a bad person because of some senseless mistake that they made, said Newton in 2010. I think every person should have a second chance. If they blow that second chance, so be it for them. Newton announced his intention to transfer from Florida 3 days before the Gators' national championship win over Oklahoma.
Blinn College.
In January 2009, Newton transferred to Blinn College in Brenham, Texas to play for head coach Brad Franchen, son of Dennis Franchen. That fall he led his team to the 2009 NJCAA National Football Championship, throwing for 2,833 yards with 22 touchdowns and rushing for 655 yards. He was named a JUCO All-America honorable mention and was the most recruited JUCO quarterback in the country. Newton was ranked as the number 1 quarterback from either high school or junior college by Rivals.com and was the only 5-star recruit. During Newton's recruitment, Oklahoma, Mississippi State and Auburn were his 3 finalists. He eventually signed with the Tigers.
Auburn University.
Newton started the first game of Auburn University's 2010 season, a home win over Arkansas State on September 4, 2010. Newton accounted for 5 total offensive touchdowns and over 350 yards of total offense. He was named SEC Offensive Player of the Week following his performance. 3 weeks later Newton had a second breakout game with 5 total touchdowns and over 330 total offensive yards against the South Carolina Gamecocks. That's a great SEC win against a really, really good football team. I can't be more proud of our guys, Auburn coach Gene Chizik said. I thought we had a good pace going on, Newton said. On October 2, 2010, Newton led Auburn to a 52-3 victory over Louisiana Monroe. He completed 3 touchdown passes, one of which went for 94 yards. It was the longest touchdown pass and offensive play in Auburn football history. On October 9, 2010, Newton led Auburn to a 37-34 victory over Kentucky. He passed for 210 yards and rushed for 198 yards including 4 rushing touchdowns. On October 16, 2010, during the Arkansas game, Newton ran for 3 touchdowns and threw 1 touchdown pass. Following these performances, media reports began to list Newton among the top 5 candidates to watch for the Heisman Trophy. On October 23, 2010, Newton led Auburn to a 24-17 victory over the LSU Tigers. He rushed for 217 yards in the game, giving him 1,077 yards for the season, and set the SEC record for yards rushing in a season by a quarterback, a record previously held by Auburn quarterback, Jimmy Seidel, that stood for over 40 years. After this game, Newton became just the second quarterback to rush for over 1,000 yards in the conference's history. He also broke Pat Sullivan's school record for most touchdowns in a single season, a record that has stood since 1971, with 27. Both of these records were broken on the same play, a 49-yard touchdown run in which Newton escaped 2 tackles, corrected himself with his arm, eluded 2 additional tackles, and dragged a defender into the end zone for the touchdown. The play was described as Newton's Heisman moment. Auburn received its first number 1 overall BCS ranking, and Newton was listed as the overall favorite for the Heisman. By half-time of the game against Georgia, Newton became the first SEC player to ever throw for 2,000 yards and rush for 1,000 yards in a single season. With the victory, Auburn improved to 11-0 and clinched the SEC West, allowing them to play in the SEC championship game. Newton led Auburn to a 28-27 victory over Alabama in the Iron Bowl after being down 24-0. The 24-point come-from-behind victory was the largest in the program's 117-year history. He passed for 216 yards with 3 passing touchdowns and ran for another. On December 4, 2010 Newton led the Tigers to an second championship, their first since 2004, by defeating South Carolina 56-17, setting an second championship game record for most points scored and largest margin of victory. Newton was named the game MVP after scoring a career-best 6 touchdowns, 4 passing and 2 rushing. With his performance, Newton also became the 3rd player in NCAA FBS history to throw and run for 20-plus touchdowns in a single season, along with former Florida teammate Tim Tebow and Colin Kaepernick, who reached the milestone earlier the same day. Newton was named the 2010 Seconds Offensive Player of the Year as well as the 2010 AP Player of the Year. He was also one of 4 finalists for the 2010 Heisman Trophy, which he won in a landslide victory. He is the 3rd Auburn player to win the Heisman Trophy, along with Pat Sullivan and Bo Jackson. Following the victory in the SEC Championship, Auburn was invited to participate in the school's first BCS National Championship game. The game took place on January 10, 2011 in Glendale, Arizona, with Auburn playing against the Oregon Ducks. In a game that Steve Spurrier predicted to score as high as 60-55. Auburn beat Oregon just 22-19 to win the BCS National Championship. Newton threw for 262 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He also rushed 22 times for 65 yards, though he lost a fumble that later allowed Oregon to tie the game with limited time remaining. Once Auburn received the ball, Newton drove the Tigers down the field to win the game on Reese Byram's last-second field goal. Media outlets wrote that Newton was upstaged by teammate Michael Dyer, the game's offensive MVP, and Auburn's defense, which held the high-powered Oregon ground game to just 75 yards on January 13, 3 days after winning the BCS National Championship. Newton declared for the 2011 NFL Draft, foregoing his senior season.
Eligibility controversy.
Newton spent much of the second half of the 2010 football season embroiled in a controversy regarding allegations that his father, Cecil Newton, had sought substantial sums of money in return for his son playing for a major college football team, in violation of National Collegiate Athletic Association rules. In early November 2010, several Mississippi State University athletic boosters reported to the media that, during their recruitment of his son out of Blinn College nearly a year earlier, Cecil Newton said that it would take more than just a scholarship to secure his son's services. This demand was communicated by booster and former Mississippi State football player Kenny Rogers to fellow boosters and former teammates Bill Bell and John Bond. Rogers said in a Dallas radio interview that Cecil Newton said it would take anywhere between $100,000 and $180,000 to get his son to transfer to Mississippi State. Auburn maintained throughout the investigation, which had begun several months before the public was made aware of it, that they were not involved in any pay-for-play scheme and that Cam Newton was fully eligible to play. On November 30, Auburn declared Cam Newton ineligible after the NCAA found evidence that Cecil Newton solicited Mississippi State $120,000 to $180,000 in exchange for Cam Newton's athletic service, a violation of amateurism. Auburn immediately filed to have him reinstated on the basis that Kenny Rogers could not be considered an agent and that Cam Newton was not aware of his father's illegal activity. The NCAA eventually sided with Auburn and reinstated Newton the next day on December 1, declaring him eligible for the 2010 Seconds Championship game 3 days later, stating that there was not sufficient evidence that Cam Newton or anyone from Auburn had any knowledge of Cecil Newton's actions. Auburn subsequently limited the access Cecil Newton had to the program as a result of NCAA findings. Also, due to increased pressure by the media and the NCAA investigation, Cecil Newton announced he would not attend the Heisman Trophy ceremony. The NCAA reinstatement did not clear Cecil Newton of any wrongdoing. It did, however, establish Cam Newton's eligibility as a candidate for the Heisman Trophy, which he won in a landslide victory with 2,263 points and 729 first-place votes. In October 2011, the NCAA officially closed its 13-month investigation into the recruitment of Cam Newton, unable to substantiate any allegation or speculation of illicit recruiting by Auburn, and concluded that Cecil Newton only solicited a cash payment from Mississippi State and no other institution attempting to recruit his son. The investigation, which consisted of over 50 interviews and the reviewing of numerous bank records, IRS documents, telephone records, and email messages, resulted in no findings that would indicate Auburn participated in any pay-for-play scenario in signing Cam Newton. The NCAA said that the allegations failed to meet a burden of proof, which is a higher standard than rampant public speculation online and in the media, and that the allegations were not based on credible and persuasive information. The NCAA's Stacey Usburn said, "We've done all we can do. We've done all the interviews. We've looked into everything and there's nothing there. Unless something new comes to light that's credible and we need to look at, it's concluded."
College honors and awards.
Heisman Trophy, 2010, Maxwell Award, 2010, Walter Camp Award, 2010, Davey O'Brien Award, 2010, Manning Award, 2010, AP College Football Player of the Year, 2010, Consensus First Team All-American. Received First Team honors from American Football Coaches Association, Associated Press, The Sporting News, Walter Camp Football Foundation, CBS Sports, College Football News, ESPN, Rivals.com, Scout.com and Sports Illustrated, 2010, First Team All-Southeastern Conference, 2010.
College stats. Professional career. 2011 NFL Draft.
In late January 2011, Newton began working out with George Whitfield Jr. in San Diego. Whitfield has worked with other quarterbacks such as Ben Roethlisberger and Achilles Smith. On April 28, 2011, Newton was selected with the first overall pick in the 2011 NFL Draft by the Carolina Panthers. He was the first reigning Heisman Trophy winner to go first overall since Carson Palmer in 2003. He also was Auburn's fourth number 1 selection after Tucker Fredrickson, 1965, Bo Jackson, 1986, and Andre Bruce, 1988. During the 2011 NFL lockout, he spent up to 12 hours a day at the IMG Madden Football Academy in Bradenton, Florida, spending up to 2 hours per day doing one-on-one training with fellow Heisman Trophy winner and ex-Panthers quarterback Chris Wainck. Before the draft, Panthers owner Jerry Richardson asked Newton to maintain his clean-cut appearance after Newton told Richardson he had no tattoos or piercings and was thinking about growing his hair longer. Although this is similar to a policy the New York Yankees has on all of its players, this gained some controversy on Richardson's part due to the fact that other players, most notably Steve Smith and Jeremy Shockey, had visible tattoos and, in Shockey's case, had longer hair earlier in his career with the New York Giants. Reactions were so strong that some even accused Richardson of racism. Despite this, Newton agreed to Richardson's dress code policies as a condition of being drafted first overall.
Carolina Panthers 2011-present. 2011 season, rookie season.
On July 29, 2011, Newton signed a 4-year deal worth over $22 million with the Carolina Panthers that is fully guaranteed. After unsuccessfully negotiating with QB Jimmy Clausen for the number 2 jersey Newton wore at Auburn, he decided to keep the number 1 jersey that the Panthers had assigned him after the draft. His quarterbacks coach was Mike Schuller, former head football coach of his college rival Alabama. A month later on September 1, 2011, he was named the Panthers' starting quarterback, ahead of Derek Anderson and Clausen. In his NFL debut game on September 11, 2011, Newton was 24-37 passing for 422 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception, in a 28-21 road loss to the Arizona Cardinals. With a quarterback rating of 110.4, he also rushed for a touchdown, and became the first rookie to throw for 400-plus yards in his first career game. His 422 passing yards broke Peyton Manning's rookie record for most passing yards on opening day. In his second career game, a 30-23 home loss to the defending Super Bowl champion Green Bay Packers, Newton broke his own record, set the weekend previously, with 432 yards passing, throwing and rushing for a touchdown. Newton's 854 passing yards through the first 2 games of the season, the most in league history by a rookie, broke the NFL record of 827 set by Kurt Warner in the 2000 season and stood as the most by any quarterback in the first 2 weeks of the season until New England's Tom Brady broke the mark again later in the day with 940. He also became the only player to begin his career with consecutive 400-yard passing games and broke the Carolina Panthers franchise record of 547 yards previously held by Steve Berline. After Newton's second career game, Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers commented, "I think someone said in the locker room that I'm kind of glad we played him early in the season because when he figures it out fully, he's going to be even tougher to stop." Newton's 3 additional interceptions against the Packers tied him for the most interceptions thrown in the league. His total passing yards over the first 3 games was 1,012 yards. The Panthers recorded their first victory of the season against the Jacksonville Jaguars 16-10. Newton threw for 158 yards and 1 touchdown. The Panthers played the Atlanta Falcons, losing 31-17 while passing for 237 yards with no passing touchdowns. Newton increased his team's record to 2-5 with a Week 7 win over the Washington Redskins 33-20. He threw for 256 yards and 1 touchdown, completing 18 of his 23 passes. He also rushed for 59 yards and a touchdown, including one run for 25 yards. This performance brought Cam a passer rating of 127.5, his highest yet. With Carolina's win over the Indianapolis Colts, Newton became the fourth rookie quarterback to pass for over 3,000 yards in his first season, joining Peyton Manning, Matt Ryan, and Sam Bradford. Newton set the NFL rushing touchdown record for quarterbacks on December 4, 2011, rushing for his 13th touchdown of the season in the fourth quarter against Tampa Bay. It was his third of the game, which resulted in a 38-19 win. In that game, he also caught a 27-yard pass from W.R. Lejdunani, making him a triple threat. On December 24, 2011, in a 48-16 victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Newton threw for 171 yards and 3 TDs and also rushed for 65 yards and a score. In the process, he broke Peyton Manning's record of 3,739 yards passing for a rookie. On January 1, 2012, against the New Orleans Saints, Newton threw for 158 yards and becoming the first rookie QB to throw for 4,000 yards. He finished his rookie season with 4,051 yards. Over the course of the season, when Newton had a turnover, the team was 0-10. When he had no turnovers, the team went 6-0. On January 22, 2012, Newton was named to be heading to the Pro Bowl after the New York Giants beat the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC Championship game. Because Eli Manning was one of the 3 QBs for the NFC to be selected, and with Newton being picked as the NFC alternate later in December, Newton was able to play in the Pro Bowl with Manning headed to the Super Bowl. He finished the Pro Bowl with 186 yards along with 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Newton was named both AP Offensive Rookie of the Year and Pepsi NFL Rookie of the Year on February 4, 2012. He became the second straight number 1 pick to win the AP Rookie of the Year, after Sam Bradford won it the previous season. He was also the first Panther to win the Offensive Award, but the second Panthers Rookie of the Year, following Julius Peppers, the AP Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2002. Cam received his Offensive Rookie of the Year, and Pepsi NFL Rookie of the Year awards on the inaugural NFL Honors Award show, with 47 of the 50 possible 50 AP votes, the other 3 going to Andy Dalton. He also landed the number 5 and 2 Play of the Year with his 49-yard TD run against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 5, and his TD fumblerooski to Richie Brockle versus the Houston Texans. He has the nickname Superman due to his touchdown celebration.
2012 season.
Cam Newton's sophomore season got off to a bumpy start at the Buccaneers when the Panthers lost 16-10 in spite of Newton going 23/33 for 303 yards and a touchdown, but with 2 costly interceptions. A week later, Newton would get his first career victory over the Saints in a 35-27 home win, going 14/20 for 253 yards and a touchdown and rushing for 71 yards and an additional touchdown. 4 days later, the Panthers began Week 3 in a home game against the Giants. Newton struggled in the 36-7 loss as he went 16/30 for 242 yards for 3 interceptions, despite rushing for the Panthers' only touchdown of the game. A week later, the Panthers traveled to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Cam Newton would lead the Panthers to a 28-27 lead late in the fourth quarter, however, after a costly fumble turned what would have been a game-sealing first down into a 4th and short, the Panthers conservatively chose to punt, and the Falcons subsequently drove into field goal range from their own 1-yard line to cap the 30-28 victory. The Panthers returned home for a Week 5 duel against the Seattle Seahawks, where Cam went 12/29 for 141 yards in the 16-12 loss. Returning from their bye, the Panthers stayed home to take on the Cowboys, where Cam went 21/37 for 233 yards with a touchdown and an interception in the 19-14 loss. A week later, Newton was 20/39 for 314 yards with 2 interceptions in a 23-22 road loss to the Bears. Cam led his team to a 21-13 victory over the RG3-led Redskins a week later in the final regular season loss for Washington in what would be known as Redskins rule year. Newton would go 13/23 for 201 yards with a touchdown while rushing for 37 yards and a touchdown. The Carolina offense struggled against the Broncos a week later, with Cam passing for 21/36 for 241 yards with 2 touchdowns, but 2 costly interceptions, a career-high 7 times against Cam, ultimately led to a lopsided Panthers loss. The Panthers' struggles continued when another late-game lead was blown in what would eventually be a 27-21 home loss in overtime against the Buccaneers. Later, in Cam's first career Monday Night Football game, the Panthers performed well against a collapsing Eagles team without their quarterback, Michael Vick. While Vick's backup Nick Foles struggled, Newton had a stellar night, going 18/28 for 306 yards and 2 passing touchdowns with an additional 52 yards and 2 touchdowns rushing in the 30-22 win. After losing to a Chiefs team playing inspired football following the Jovan Belcher tragedy, the Panthers returned home for round 2 of 2012's I-85 rivalry. Newton and the Panthers upset a one-loss Falcons team, where Cam threw 23/25 for 287 yards and 2 touchdowns while rushing for a career-high 116 yards and a career-long 72 rushing touchdown as the young QB completed his 4th straight game without a turnover. The Panthers eventually finished their season without a loss, and although this team rally failed to impact the Panthers' playoff hopes, many believe this ultimately saved the job of their head coach, Ron Rivera, for at least another season. Though this season could be seen by some as a sophomore slump, it should be noted that although Cam's season was not as spectacular as his rookie season, he did improve in many statistical categories, improved on his efficiency, and cut back on his turnovers. Cam's noticeable decline in rushing touchdowns is due partially to the Panthers signing Mike Tolbert before the season began. Tolbert, a versatile fullback, was able to punch in the goal-line touchdowns that Cam excelled with his rookie season. Though this offensive decision was a tragedy to many fantasy owners, the intent was to reduce the contact put on Cam by defenders who could anticipate Cam rushing the ball in obvious red zone situations. Newton also led the league in yards per completion, 13.8, and was second in yards per attempt, 8.0, behind Robert Griffin III.
2013 season.
Cam Newton and his team went off to a slow start in Week 1 against the Seahawks as Newton threw 16/23 for 125 yards and a touchdown and also sacked once in the 12-7 loss at home. A week later, Cam faced the Bills in which they led the majority of the game, but the young QB struggled as he went 21/38 for 229 yards for 2 touchdowns but also threw an interception and was sacked 6 times in the surprising 24-23 loss on the road. In Week 3, the Panthers returned home to take on the Giants. Cam went 15/27 for 223 yards for 3 touchdowns, an interception, a sack, and rushed for 45 yards and a touchdown, which would be his first of the season in the 38-0 win despite being sacked once. Coming off their bye week, Newton struggled on the road against the Cardinals as he went 21/39 for 308 yards while throwing 3 interceptions, being sacked 7 times and losing a fumble in the 22-6 loss. Being the best quarterback to come through the NFL since Peyton Manning, he would rebound a week later against Minnesota as he went 20/26 for 242 yards while throwing 3 touchdown passes and being sacked once but also ran for 30 yards and a touchdown in the 35-10 road win. The season turned out to be a success, with Newton leading his team to a 12-4 record and a first-round bye in the playoffs. Newton was selected for the 2014 Pro Bowl. The week after he lost his first NFL playoff game to the San Francisco 49ers. Newton was drafted 3rd in the first annual Pro Bowl draft, by Team Sanders. Newton played the second and third quarter, and rushed for a touchdown.
NFL career statistics.
Note: statistics are correct through Week 17 of the 2013 NFL season.
NFL accomplishments and records. NFL records. Rookie records.
Second most passing yards by a rookie in a game, 432, September 18, 2011 vs Green Bay Packers. Second most passing yards by a rookie in a season, 4,051, 2011. First rookie in NFL history to pass for more than 400 yards in back-to-back games, September 11, 2011 vs Arizona Cardinals and September 18, 2011 vs Green Bay Packers. First rookie in NFL history to throw for 10 touchdowns and run for 10 touchdowns in a season. First rookie quarterback in NFL history to throw for 4,000 yards in a season. Most total touchdowns by a rookie NFL player, 35, 21 pass, 14 rush. Second most rushing yards by a rookie quarterback, 706. Along with Andy Dalton, the two make the first pair of rookie QBs to make the Pro Bowl. Most total yards by a rookie quarterback, 4,784.
Records.
Most passing yards by a quarterback in debut game, 422, September 11, 2011 vs Arizona Cardinals. Most passing yards by a quarterback in first two games, 854, September 11, 2011 vs Arizona Cardinals and September 18, 2011 vs Green Bay Packers. First quarterback in NFL history to pass for more than 400 yards in first career start, September 11, 2011 vs Arizona Cardinals. Sixth quarterback to throw for 400-plus yards in back-to-back games. First quarterback in NFL history to pass for more than 400 yards in first two career starts, September 11, 2011 vs Arizona Cardinals and September 18, 2011 vs Green Bay Packers. Fastest player to throw for 1,000 yards, at Arizona Cardinals, versus Green Bay Packers, and versus Jacksonville Jaguars. First player in NFL history with at least 5 rushing touchdowns and 5 passing touchdowns in his first 5 games. Most rushing touchdowns in single season by a quarterback, 14, achieved on December 4, 2011 versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Second player in NFL history with 20-plus pass TDs and 10-plus rush TDs in a season, joining Cordell Stewart, 97. First player in NFL history with 4,000-plus pass yards and 10-plus rush TDs in a season. First player in NFL history with 4,000-plus pass yards and 500-plus rush yards in a season. Had a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown in the same game 8 times, tying the NFL single-season record, previously accomplished by Steve Grogan of the New England Patriots in 1976 and Dawn Culpepper of the Minnesota Vikings in 2002. 25th NFL player, and first quarterback, to have 20 rushing TDs in first 2 seasons. First QB in NFL history with at least 500 yards rushing in first 2 seasons. First player in NFL history to have over 250 passing yards and over 100 rushing yards with a passing TD and rushing TD in a game, versus Falcons on September 12, 2012. 287 yards passing and 2 TDs, 116 yards rushing and 1 TD. First player to have 30 passing TDs and 20 rushing TDs in first 2 seasons. Highest average yards of total offense, career, 293.7. Second player in NFL history with 7,500-plus pass yards and 40-plus pass TDs in first 2 seasons, joining Peyton Manning, 99. Second most combined passing and rushing yards through his first 37 starts in NFL history, behind Kurt Warner. First player in NFL history with 50 passing TDs and 25 rushing TDs in his first 3 seasons. First player with 10,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards in his first 3 seasons.
Carolina Panthers franchise records.
Rookie season quarterback records, completions, 310, yards, 4,051, passing touchdowns, 21, completion percentage, 60%, passer rating, 84.5, highest average yards per carry in a season, 5.83 in 2012, longest offensive scoring play, 91-yard pass, to Brandon LaFell, December 24, 2011 vs Tampa Bay Buccaneers. second rookie to make Pro Bowl, with Steve Smith in 2001, first Panther to win AP Offensive Rookie of the Year, most passing attempts without an interception, 176.
NFL accomplishments.
AP Offensive Rookie of the Year, Pepsi NFL Rookie of the Year, 2012 Pro Bowl, 2014 Pro Bowl, Sporting News Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Month, 1x, Pepsi NFL Rookie of the Week, 3x.
Personal.
Newton is the son of Cecil Newton, Sr., who was cut as a safety from the preseason rosters of the 1983 Dallas Cowboys and 1984 Buffalo Bills, and the younger brother of Cecil Newton, Jr., a center who most recently played for the Baltimore Ravens. Newton is a Christian. Newton spoke about his faith after winning the 2011 BCS National Championship game saying, "It's just a God thing. I thank God every single day. I'm just his instrument and he's using me on a consistent basis daily." As a result of the controversies regarding the play-for-pay scandals, and Newton's father Cecil's alleged activity with his son's college teams, Cam Newton has been labeled by the derisive nickname Scam Newton since his late college days. In addition to his commitment to football, Newton participates in motivational speaking. Newton became the host of the 2014 Hall of Game Awards,